Ever wondered who really runs the Philippines economy? It's not the tycoons you see in the news, but women running billion-dollar empires while staying out of the headlines. From pharmacy queens to retail visionaries, these are the hidden power players reshaping the nation's wealth. Stick till the end, because you'll be shocked to find out who's at number 1. Number 10. The Campos Sisters, the silent pillars of Philippine healthcare. Let's kick things off with a family whose influence runs deeper than anyone realizes. If you've ever popped a paracetamol, treated a cough, or stocked up on vitamins in the Philippines, there are high chances you've unknowingly handed a few pesos to the Campos dynasty. The story began in 1945 when Jose Yao Campos co-founded United Laboratories, or Unilab, with a dream that medicine shouldn't be a luxury. He started with a tiny pharmacy in post-war Manila, a time when penicillin was rarer than gold, and turned it into a pharmaceutical powerhouse that now controls a quarter of the entire Philippine drug market. At the helm today stands Josephine Campos, the strategic face of the next generation. Under her watch, Unilab has become a name synonymous with trust, a quiet constant in the chaos of modern healthcare. But here's what makes the Campos clan fascinating. They don't just sell medicine. They've expanded into nutrition through Del Monte Pacific, creating a seamless empire where wellness meets the dinner table. Their philosophy? It's the Bayanihan capitalism. Unilab still runs outreach programs, medical caravans, and disaster relief efforts nationwide, proving that doing good can, in fact, be great business. During the pandemic, they were among the first to donate vaccines and test kits, quietly doing what most tycoons would have held press conferences for. No flashy yachts, no magazine spreads, just multi-billion peso impact hidden behind pharmacy counters and canned fruit aisles. But now, from quiet strength, we shift to quiet power. Because our next billionaire doesn't just influence medicine, she commands industries that keep the country's lights on. Number 9. Soledad Nene, Oppen-Cojuangco, the Matriarch of San Miguel. Now, if you've ever cracked open a bottle of San Miguel beer or driven on a tollway built by SMC, you've brushed shoulders with Soledad Cojuangco, one of the Philippines' most discreet billionaires and arguably its most powerful widow. But here's where her story takes a wild turn. Soledad's late husband, Eduardo Danding Cojuangco Jr., was no ordinary businessman. He was a titan, part politician, part industrialist, and part myth. His life was a tangled web of empire building and controversy, from the Coco Levy Fund saga to the takeover of San Miguel Corporation, a company that went from brewing beer to building airports. But after his passing in 2020, Soledad became the Cojuangco family's matriarch, the steady hand behind a 1.5 trillion peso empire that touches nearly every Filipino life. Food, fuel, power, tollways. If it moves, lights up, or fills your fridge, San Miguel likely has a stake in it. What makes Soledad fascinating is how unlike her late husband she is. Danding was flamboyant, a Marcos ally with political ambitions and an entourage to match. Soledad, meanwhile, rarely steps into the spotlight. No interviews, no events, not even a soundbite. Yet through her quiet authority, the Cojuangco influence remains unbroken. And while other conglomerates trim down, SMC keeps expanding, from owning Petron to constructing the new Manila International Airport, a $15 billion megaproject that could reshape the country's infrastructure for decades. In short, Nene Cojuangco doesn't need to shout to be heard. Her empire speaks louder than any press release could. And speaking of empires that define everyday life, let's shift gears to a woman whose creations don't just fuel industries, they feed an entire nation. Number 8. Betty Ang, the queen of instant noodles. Let's put a little tastefulness to our list, because the woman we're going to talk about built her fortune not from oil, steel, or real estate, but from noodles. Betty Ang, the co-founder and president of Monde Nissin Corporation, turned humble pantry staples into a billion-dollar empire. Back in 1989, she and her husband, Pwede No Quifanus, launched a brand called Lucky Me. And that was it. History was cooked, served, and slurped in millions of Filipino homes. What started as an affordable comfort food became a cultural phenomenon. Lucky Me now commands over 70% of the instant noodle market, and Monde Nissin's portfolio has expanded to include SkyFlakes, Fita, and Mamacitas. Basically the holy trinity of Filipino snack time. But Betty didn't stop there. In 2015, she made one of the boldest moves in Philippine business history, acquiring Quorn Foods, a UK-based plant protein giant, for £550 million. That single deal transformed Monde Nissin from a local favorite into a global food tech leader, putting her in the same conversation as Nestlé and Unilever. What makes Betty particularly remarkable isn't just her success, it's her silence. She's never given a full-length media interview, even after leading the largest ever food IPO in Philippine history, worth nearly $1 billion. Yet her brand is so ingrained in the national psyche that it's practically folklore. Ask any Filipino college student, and they'll tell you how they survived midterms on nothing but Lucky Me, Pancit Canton, and sheer willpower. And from noodles that shaped a nation's appetite, our next billionaire shaped its cities, quite literally building the modern Filipino suburb from the ground up. Number 7. Josephine Gotianun-Yap, the architect of modern suburbia. If there's one woman who practically designed how modern Filipinos live, work, and relax, it's Josephine Gotianun-Yap, the low-profile yet razor-sharp leader behind Filinvest Development Corporation. Her story starts with humble roots. Back in 1955, her parents, Andrew and Mercedes Gotianun, began with a small used car financing business, essentially flipping cars before flipping was even a thing. From that seed grew Filinvest, one of the most resilient and diversified conglomerates in the Philippines today. Under Josephine's watch, the company evolved into a 700 billion peso behemoth, spanning real estate, banking, utilities, and hospitality. But her crown jewel, Filinvest City, a 244-hectare urban masterpiece in Alabang that turned what was once farmland into one of Metro Manila's first truly sustainable business districts. Think of it as the Philippines' answer to Singapore's integrated city planning, green spaces, glass towers, and all. Through EastWest Bank, the family also built one of the country's top 10 banks, serving everyone from everyday savers to corporate titans. But what really defines Josephine's leadership isn't just growth, it's discipline. The Gotianuns are known for being almost fanatically conservative with money. Low debt, high liquidity, and an almost paranoid focus on preparedness. Lessons learned after they nearly lost everything during the economic storms of the 1980s. When the pandemic hit, while other conglomerates froze projects or cut jobs, Filinvest quietly expanded. Proof that a fortress built on prudence doesn't crumble easily. Josephine Gotianun-Yap is a strategist who plays the long game. She's living proof that you can lead an empire with calm precision instead of chaos. But while Josephine builds the cities we live in, our next billionaire built the invisible web that connects us all, from your phone to your fridge. Number 6. Maria Grace. Yui, the digital dynamo. In a country notorious for slow internet, Maria Grace Yui decided she'd had enough, and then went on to build the broadband empire that changed everything. Together with her husband Dennis Anthony Yui, she co-founded Converge ICT Solutions in 2007, long before fiber became a household word. Their origin story sounds like a garage startup legend. The two were running a small cable TV business in Pampanga, selling Betamax tapes on the side when they spotted a gap in the market. Everyone was hungry for speed, but the big telcos weren't delivering, so they decided to do it themselves. Fast forward to today, Converge has grown into one of the Philippines' top broadband providers, a network of over 800,000 kilometers of fiber connecting 17 million homes nationwide. Their 2020 IPO raised $500 million, the largest tech IPO in Philippine history, and instantly turned the couple into one of the nation's richest power duos. Maria Grace, who serves as President and Chief Resources Officer, is often described as the brains that keep the machine running. She's meticulous, data-driven, and famously demanding. The kind of leader who knows the numbers down to the decimal. Her focus, speed, reliability, and scale. And unlike many dynasties on this list, the Uis are entirely self-made. No inheritance, no family fortune, just sheer grit, vision, and sleepless nights wiring up a dream. In under 2 decades, Converge has forced telecom giants like PLDT and Globe to evolve or risk becoming obsolete. Analysts have even compared its growth curve to Netflix in its early days, lean, aggressive, and unstoppable. And now, from one woman who connected the nation, we move to another who healed it. A legend whose legacy lives on in every pharmacy across the Philippines. Number 5. Vivian K. Asa, the pharmacy queen of the people. Every Filipino has walked into a mercury drug at some point, whether for medicine, baby formula, or late-night vitamins. And behind that glowing red and white sign stood one woman, Vivian Quay Asa, the quiet powerhouse who kept the nation healthy. Vivian was the daughter of Mariano Quay, who started Mercury Drug in 1945 with nothing but a pushcart of medicine in post-war Manila. She joined the company in 1977 as a young assistant and worked her way through every rung of the ladder, learning logistics, accounting, and store operations before eventually taking over as president. By the time she did, Mercury Drug had grown into an empire of over 1,200 branches nationwide, the largest and most trusted pharmacy chain in the country. Her genius was operational. Vivian revolutionized how Filipinos accessed healthcare. She pioneered 24-hour pharmacy service, launched the Suki loyalty program, and introduced Gamot Padala, a delivery service that allowed families to send medicine anywhere in the country. In short, she made access to healthcare not just convenient, but personal. For decades, surveys have ranked Mercury Drug among the country's most trusted brands, sometimes even above government agencies. That level of credibility doesn't come from advertising. It comes from service. When Vivian passed away in 2025, tributes poured in from across the nation, not from fellow billionaires, but from ordinary Filipinos. She wasn't just a CEO. She was the woman who made sure no one had to walk far for medicine, no matter who they were. Mercury Drug remains family-owned, debt-free, and proudly Filipino, standing as a monument to her father's vision and her own humanity-driven leadership. From pharmacies that heal the body, our next tycoon built sanctuaries that heal the soul. And she did it with a level of elegance only true old money can afford. Number 4. Susan Ko, the retail visionary. If you've ever walked into a Pure Gold store, grabbed a basket, and thought, wow, everything I need is right here, you've stepped into Susan Ko's world. She and her husband, Lucio Ko, built their retail empire in 1998, right in the middle of the Asian financial crisis, when everyone else was cutting back. Their gamble? That the Filipino middle class wasn't going anywhere, and groceries would always be recession-proof. They were right. What started as a single hypermarket in Quezon City is now over 640 stores strong, making Pure Gold the second-largest grocery chain in the Philippines. Their secret sauce wasn't luxury branding, it was empathy for the everyman. Pure Gold's genius lay in its Tindahan ni Aling Puring program, a first-of-its-kind loyalty ecosystem that transformed thousands of sari-sari store owners into wholesale partners. Instead of competing with small businesses, Susan empowered them, effectively turning Pure Gold into the beating heart of the Philippines' grassroots economy. Behind the shelves, the Ko family diversified brilliantly. Through Costco Capital, they control liquor distribution, brands like Alfonso and Tanduay, real estate holdings, and even Liquigas, one of the country's major LPG distributors, tying together food, fuel, and everyday living into one unified business web. Despite being worth billions, Susan and Lucio Ko are famously private. You won't find them flaunting wealth on magazine covers. They're more likely walking a supermarket aisle than attending galas. Susan's empire thrives on the same principle that built it: serve the people who make the country run. And now, from a family whose fortune was built from serving the masses, let's move on to next rich women in our list who literally built the nation, one bridge, power plant, and skyscraper at a time. Number 3. The Gotianun-Yap sisters, heiresses of steel, cement, and power. If you've driven across a major Philippine bridge, lived in a DMCI condominium, or flipped a light switch in a semi-Rara-powered home, you've touched the legacy of the Gotianun-Yap family. At the core of this legacy are the Gotianun-Yap sisters, Josefa, Luz, Maria Cristina, and Maria Edwina, daughters of the late David Gotianun-Yap, the man celebrated as the father of Philippine construction. Their inheritance wasn't just wealth, it was the literal blueprint of the country's infrastructure. From humble beginnings in post-war Manila, DMCI grew from a small construction firm into a conglomerate whose footprint defines the skyline. Under DMCI Holdings, the family controls Semirara Mining and Power, DMCI Homes, DMCI Power, and Maynilad Water Services, sectors that collectively touch every aspect of Philippine life. Today, the Gotianun-Yap empire is valued at over 500 billion pesos, $8.5 billion. Their industrial arm, Semirara Mining, supplies nearly 30% of the nation's electricity, while DMCI Homes shapes the real estate market with its high-rise communities. And just to keep their dominance in cement rock solid, the group made headlines with a $300 million acquisition of Cemex Philippines, securing a full vertical chain of construction, from mining the raw materials to building the final product. Though their brother Isidro Gotianun-Yap serves as CEO, the sisters remain critical stakeholders and key decision-makers, each with substantial influence on the company's direction. Together, they embody the new face of inherited power: quiet, composed, and calculating. And if the Gotianun-Yaps built the nation's backbone, our next woman built the places where the nation comes together, where deals are struck, memories are made, and global icons check in. Number 2. Elizabeth Sy, the hotel and conventions queen. Luxury, hospitality, and the art of making people feel at home. That's Elizabeth Sy's empire summed up. As the second child of the legendary Henry Sy Sr., Elizabeth could have easily followed the family's retail path. But she chose to chart her own, one rooted in elegance and experience. Today, as chairperson and president of SM Hotels and Conventions Corp., she runs the hospitality arm of the SM Group, the same powerhouse that brought us SM Malls and BDO. Her portfolio is dazzling. Think Conrad Manila, with its glass hull gleaming like a cruise ship on Manila Bay. The Tal Vista Hotel, a heritage landmark reborn under her watch. Park Inn by Radisson branches dotting the country, and the sprawling SMX convention centers that host everything from business expos to K-pop concerts. Under Elizabeth's leadership, SMHCC has become the largest convention and events group in the country, and one of the few hotel operators with full synergy across retail, banking, and real estate. Her operational discipline, combined with that signature SMDNA of efficiency and accessibility, turned her division into a silent giant within the group's empire. But Elizabeth isn't just about numbers, she's about experiences. Every SM property under her name emphasizes comfort, culture, and connection. A softer, more refined contrast to the retail hustle her father built his name on. She also sits as director of BDO Private Bank, tying her hospitality empire directly into the world of finance, a perfect balance of warmth and wealth. Understated yet commanding, Elizabeth Sy turned the SM name from a shopping destination into a staying destination, a playground for both local and global elites. But as refined as Elizabeth's empire may be, it can't beat the wealth of woman who sits atop this list, the mastermind behind the country's largest conglomerate, and the face of Philippine capitalism itself. Number 1. Teresita Sy Coson, the queen of Philippine capitalism. If the Philippines had a big boss of business, it would undoubtedly be Teresita Sy Coson, the woman who quietly runs an empire so vast its influence stretches from the shopping cart to the stock market. Born the eldest daughter of Henry C. Sr., Teresita, or Tessie as she's known, grew up folding shoes at her father's original Shoe Mart store. That early exposure to the grind shaped her into one of the most formidable business minds in Asia. Today, she serves as vice chairperson of SM Investments Corporation, SMIC, the crown jewel of Philippine corporate power. Under her leadership, SMIC's three pillars, retail, real estate, and banking, have not just dominated but defined the national economy. SM malls are now part of Filipino life. BDO Unibank is the largest bank in the country, and SM Prime Holdings is one of the most valuable property firms in Southeast Asia. The SM Group's combined market cap now exceeds 3 trillion pesos, $50 billion, representing a staggering 10% of the Philippine Stock Exchange Index. Tessie's crowning achievement? Transforming BDO from a mid-sized thrift bank into the undisputed leader of Philippine banking. Through calculated mergers, extended branch hours, and customer-first innovations, she redefined what banking could mean for everyday Filipinos. The slogan, "We find ways," wasn't just marketing, it was her playbook. Despite her empire's reach, Tessie remains famously pragmatic, modestly dressed, understated, but deadly precise in boardroom strategy. Forbes and Fortune have repeatedly listed her among the world's most powerful women, not for headlines but for hard numbers. Today, BDO serves over 50 million customers, nearly half the nation. Her family's businesses employ hundreds of thousands and influence virtually every major sector. Teresita Sy Coson doesn't just top the list because of wealth. She tops it because she is the benchmark. In a country where money moves with her decisions, she stands as the axis around which Philippine capitalism spins. And there you have it, the 10 richest women from the Philippines. Which one of these females fascinated you the most? Let us know in the comments, and for more such peeks into the lives of the rich, take a look at our channel.